Hey guys, this is Mark. Welcome to the FlowRunner series where we review sample flow implementations. This one is going to be pretty cool. The flow we will review is called Business Card Data Extraction with AI, which is kind of a long name. The idea of this flow, and by the way, I will as soon as I finish with this intro, I will demonstrate the actual flow and then we will go into its implementation. The idea is quite simple. You use your phone or computer camera to take a picture of a business card, and then regardless of the design, regardless of the layout of where the name and contact information is, that card, the image of it is sent to the backend, to the FlowRunner flow, and then it is being passed to AI. The AI does its work of extracting data from the business card. We get it back in the flow as a structured data and then pass it on to the UI via real-time connection. That's it, super simple. And the idea here is to demonstrate how you can, first of all, do OCR, optical character recognition with AI, and then how to do data exchange between FlowRunner and UI. And then, of course, how to structure data where you get it back from AI. A lot of very important concepts that you could use in a number of different automations. So now, without any further ado, let's jump in and see how that flow works. The user experience part of this flow starts when you open the page from the description part of the flow in Flow Manager. And when you run the page, you will see a page that looks like this. The page is very basic and was not styled intentionally just because we wanted to focus on the implementation. However, the functionality that is there is pretty cool. So let's just get it to work. So I'm going to use the camera on my laptop to scan a business card. So click this button. It starts the camera. Here I am. I'm recording the video. And let's just scan. I have one of the business cards right here. And click done. So at this point, this image is sent to the flow. And then the flow sends it to AI. AI processes the name. And there you go. Phone, email, and the address part, and sends it back to the UI, and that's it. So it's as simple as that. However, there are quite a few things that happened to get thus far. Right now, if you're gonna try it again, just reload the page, because if you click this button, it will not send it to the flow since the page was designed just to do it once. But if you reload the page, then you can scan another business card. And I have another one right here. So let's just, and notice that if the card is tilted and you just rotate it a little bit, it will still recognize, AI will still recognize all of that information. So now that you have seen how it works, let's dig in, and there you go. It just processed all of this. Let's dig in and see how that is implemented. So, and this is the flow. It is called Business Card Data Extraction with AI. The flow is currently running. There is no reason to stop it. And the very first thing that happens in the flow is an app logic trigger. App logic trigger is a special kind of trigger that can be activated directly from a UI page. In fact, when you use app logic trigger in your flow, a codeless block will be created in the codeless system that you use, whether it's UI or the backend. And by using that codeless block, you can activate that trigger that a flow, that this specific flow is listening on, because every single codeless block that is created for an app logic trigger corresponds to a specific block in your flow. So in here, this is what wakes up that flow, and the execution continues. As you can see, there are two arrows going out of this trigger. One just logs the data, and it logs the information that is being sent by UI to the flow. And after that, it goes to this business card data extractor. Now, this one is a AI assistant. In fact, actually, let me just stop the flow so I can show you this. So this is an AI assistant that is included right here, business card data extractor. This AI assistant was created directly in the OpenAI platform sort of management interface. So if you click on this one, you will not be able to edit it because it was imported directly. And by the way, if you are going to create an AI assistant in your OpenAI account, every AI assistant has its own ID. And when you create an AI assistant, you can just provide assistant ID and it will be imported from your account, but you will need to use your API key, which is what you should do because the API key that is included with FlowRunner is only for demo purposes and will not last a lot. Anyway, so this AI assistant is configured like this. So I'm switching to the playground in OpenAI, and this is our assistant. And as you can see, the configuration of that assistant is pretty long. And in fact, the whole thing is provided in our documentation, so you can see exactly what prompt we used. But in here, basically what this prompt says is that we will give you a business card that is scanned, and this is the data that you will need to extract: name, email, phone number, and address. Okay, and then it provides description of the entire workflow, and then we're also instructed to return JSON. And if there is an error, we instruct what kind of data structure we want to get in case if it is an error. So there is a lot in here. And the general gist of it is to extract these 4 fields. Since we're not using neither file search nor code interpreter tools, the response format can be JSON object, which is exactly what we want because we want to get structured data back from AI. So this guy right here is going to be exactly the same as this block right here. Okay, so when we configure this block, this action in FlowRunner, notice that we are sending the image that was sent to us by UI. So in UI, we have this trigger, and there is the data referenced by this trigger is going to be referenced in the flow as business card. And then the business card will have a property called file URL because that's how we reference that image in the trigger, okay, for in this specific use case. So what's going to happen is AI will process this data and it will return an element that will be referenced in the flow known as contact data, okay? So the next thing that happens is we're going to have a condition where we check if the data that we got from AI, it has an error or not. And then if it has an error, then the contact data decision, and the decision is always the property that will reference the result from the AI. So if that property includes a property called error, then we know it is an error. Otherwise, if it doesn't have this key error, then it is not an error, and then we can proceed with success. So the next thing will happen is we will save data that is processed by AI in the database. So in here, we select the table contacts and address, email, name, phone, and the original link to the image are being saved as a new record in a database. So the contacts table is available in the same workspace that if you installed sample flows, then it's going to be there. So if you go to quick access and then select this database, then you will see this. So here in contacts, it's going to have all the data that you have scanned using that sample UI page. Okay, so all of it is going to end up in the contacts table. Notice that these are all the properties that were or columns that were set up for this specific table. So in here, in the flow, we're saving all the data that was processed by AI plus the original link to the image. Once the data is saved, then we're sending the data to UI using this custom action, send data to UI. And in here, we can just pass the data that the AI comes back with, and it's going to be contact data decision. Contact data is what AI result is referenced. So in here, we're just sending it back to UI, and UI is listening for the data to come back from the flow. So as you can see, super simple. Now, by the way, if AI came back to us and there is an error, then we're going to save that actual error in a database in the property called error. Okay, so that's all that is going on in the flow. Let's take a look at the UI side of things, because this communication with UI is quite interesting. So here, if we go to UI Builder and locate the page that is called Data Extraction, so you will see this. There are two things that are going on the UI side of things. First of all, select the actual page, and then if you go to the logic, whenever the page runs, one of the first thing that it will do is it will call this flow. So this call flow will allocate an instance, and that instance of our flow will be there, but it instantly goes into the trigger, which will be waiting for the actual event to wake that trigger up. However, this call flow block will return a structure that contains the actual execution ID, because we want to target specific instance of that flow, the instance that was created by this call flow block. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to use that instance of that flow as a communication channel. So as you can see, the next thing that happens is we create a real-time message listener for the channel that has the same sort of name as the execution ID of that flow that we just created. Okay, and the reason we need this is, remember, in the flow, whenever we use send data to UI, that block will be using exactly the same channel as well. So this way we can send the data to UI to exactly the instance of the page that is waiting for us to scan the image that it provided. Okay, so this is quite important. And then the message will contain the message that the flow is sending, and we take this message and we assign it to the data form so the form can render the data. Now, what happens whenever we scan that image and send it? So if you select this webcam photo component and then go to its logic, it has an event called onSaveImage event. So in here, we create the file is being uploaded, and then this is the block that I was talking about that corresponds to that app logic trigger. And then in here, as you can see, we're activating specific instance of that flow, and that instance is the one that has this execution ID that we got from call flow. And we're also passing this file URL of the file that contains the image that was scanned. That's it. That's all it takes on the UI side of things to establish that communication with FlowRunner. So that's it, guys. It's as I said, it is simple from the implementation perspective, but there are so many little things that are going on that are quite reusable. And I hope that you got some ideas and information about how this works, so you can start applying this in your automations as well. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it useful. And as always, happy automating.